मैं समय हूं।
Today, I am going to explain the American post-apocalyptic action film called After Earth. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The premise of the movie is set far in the future, when the Earth has become uninhabitable. Humans have to find another planet to settle upon. That is when the organization called the United Ranger Corps is founded. The United Ranger Corps is a global military effort in the evacuation of the Earth. The Rangers lead the settlement of mankind's new home called Nova Prime. The exodus ends when humanity settles on the new pristine planet they call Nova Prime. The only problem is that the planet already has beings living on it. The natives of Nova Prime release monstrous creatures called the Ursas to get rid of the human settlers. The Ursas are technically blind, but they can detect humans by sensing the pheromones that the human brain releases when they are scared. The creatures can smell fear in humans and attack. Because of them, humankind is again in danger of extinction. 1,000 years later, the Rangers, who had helped humans to evacuate the Earth, find a way to defeat the Ursas. The Prime Commander Cypher Rage creates a technique called ghosting where he can fearlessly battle with the Ursas, making himself practically invisible to them. Using this technique, the Rangers defeat the Ursas and live on Nova Prime peacefully. The scene cuts to some teenagers training to become Rangers in the human settlement of Prime Nova. One of the ambitious teens is Commander Cypher's son Kite. Kite's elder sister Senshi was killed while trying to save him from an Ursa, so he trains hard every day to become a ranger and fight them. On the evaluation day, the evaluator, Commander, tells Kite that his test scores are impressive but his field activity is average. Hence, he is not selected as a ranger. Kite retaliates, but Commander dismisses the conversation. In the following scene, we see the Prime Commander Cypher finally arrive home after his expedition to another planet. He meets his wife Faia and greets her. At night, the family is having dinner when Cypher asks Kite about his training. Kite replies he hasn't been selected, and Cypher simply asks him to try harder. Kite rudely gets up from the table, making Cypher yell at him to sit back down. After dinner, Cypher tells Faia that he is leaving for his last voyage to Iphitos to train some rangers. He plans to retire after the trip. Faia asks him to take Kite with him so he could learn how to be a ranger. She vaguely reveals that Kite blames himself for his elder sister Senshi's death. The following day, Cypher and Kite prepare to leave for the expedition. Before they leave, Cypher is approached by a ranger who has lost one of his legs in battle. The ranger thanks Cypher for saving his life and gets on his foot to salute him. Kite watches the commotion in fascination, admiring how the other rangers respect his father. The rangers are also lifting a captured Ursa in their ship to use in training. Everyone boards the spaceship, and it finally takes off. Halfway in their trip, Cypher asks Kite to strap in and take a rest like the others. But because of the uncomfortable seat, he doesn't fall asleep. So, goes to a restricted area where the Ursa is kept. He is then stopped by a ranger, who makes fun of him for being intrusive. A group of rangers allows him to go near the restrained Ursa to see if he is fearless like his father. But the Ursa smells Kite's fear and growls. Just then, Cypher wakes up and checks the gravitational force in the ship using a technology fitted in his ring. He notices something is off and orders the rangers to secure all cargo. Kite goes back to his seat and straps himself in. Cypher then asks the pilot about the nearest asteroid shower. At first, the pilots do not detect one, but as time passes by, they notice a heavy asteroid shower coming their way. It hits the ship, making it shake aggressively and causing some serious damage to it. The rangers start to panic, and the only one strapped in is Kite. He hyperventilates, scared of what is about to happen. Cypher orders the pilots to travel to the wormhole, and they finally reach outside the asteroid shower. However, the ship is heavily damaged and cannot go on for a long time, so they will have to land on the nearest planet suitable for humans. While searching for such a planet, the pilot comes across the Earth. Cypher is skeptical about landing on their old home because the Earth has become a Class 1 quarantine planet after humans' departure, but has no other way out. As the ship falls on the Earth's surface at an uncontrollable speed, Cypher approaches his son and calms him down. Kite gets visions of the time they were attacked by an Ursa, and his sister Sinchi was killed. Just then, the ship starts to break, causing everyone around Kite to fall off it. At last, Kite falls unconscious and crash lands on the surface of the earth. Humans have returned to Earth after 1,000 years. After a while, he wakes up and looks around to find the dead bodies of fellow rangers. He also sees his father lying limp on the ground and hugs him. To Kite's surprise, Cypher gains consciousness and greets him. But both of his legs are severely injured, making it impossible for him to stand up. Cypher asks him how many people survived, only to find out that everyone except for them is dead. Moreover, the real part of the ship is absent, meaning that the captured Ursa has landed somewhere else. Cypher believes that the creature might be dead from the impact, but still asks Kiteto to be careful. Cypher makes Kite get an emergency beacon that can be used to send signals to a rescue group in Prime Nova. But they are disappointed to see that the beacon is fully damaged. Then, Kite takes Cypher to the control panel, which is still working. From there, Cypher finds out the location of the second beacon that is in the tail section of the ship. A hologram shows that the second beacon has landed 100 kilometers away from their current location. Without the beacon, they will never be able to get back home, so they will have to retrieve it. But since Cypher is not in a condition to walk, Kite will have to do it himself. Cypher warns him about the creatures of the earth who have evolved to kill humans in the past 1,000 years. The journey will not be easy for Kite, but Cypher will be watching him and his trails from the control panel at all times. Cypher gives Kite his weapon, a wrist communicator, and 6 capsules of a fluid that enhances the oxygen intake so he can breathe in Earth's low oxygen atmosphere. He asks Kite to take the capsules in regular intervals and sets him off for his journey. Starting his journey, Kite climbs a sloppy hill and reaches the top. There, he is fascinated to see several lives on the Earth. The Earth now has violent thermal shifts, because of which the nights are too cold to handle. Hence, Cypher advises Kite to reach the hot spots caused by the geothermal energy every night to keep himself warm. After that, Cypher checks the condition of his legs and sees that they are severely damaged. He takes a painkiller for the moment, which makes him go hazy. By midday, Kite reaches a forest when Cypher notices a creature approaching him from the monitor. He informs Kite of the creature and asks him to stay put. The animal turns out to be an evolved, violent monkey. Kite gets scared and throws a rock at the animal, attracting a group of monkeys who chase him. A worried Cypher gives him the directions as Kite runs for his life. The monkeys leave him after he jumps into a river. Kite finally stops running and finds a poisonous leech stuck to him. He hurriedly removes the parasite, but the creature has already left its venom in his body. Kite starts to lose his vision and his body stops moving. Cypher orders him to get an antidote from his medical kit. Kite injects the dose and falls unconscious right after. After a while, Cypher wakes Kite up saying that the temperature is dropping rapidly as night approaches. He will have to get to a hot spot quickly if he doesn't want to freeze to death. Kite wakes up, completely healed from the leech's poison, and makes his way forward. Meanwhile, Cypher performs a make-do surgery on his legs to make them better, but he knows that he doesn't have much time left. At that moment, he reminisces about the time he wished his daughter a happy birthday before her death. A while later, Kite finally arrives at the first hotspot. He checks his equipment for the day and sees that 2 capsules of liquid that enhance his oxygen level are destroyed. This means that he will have to reach his destination sooner. Knowing that Cypher will ask him to turn if he finds out about the broken vials, Kiteles says everything is intact. At night, Kite asks Cypher how he discovered the ghosting technique. For the first time, Cypher tells him that he was going on a run when an Ursa appeared right in front of him. A scared Cypher froze, and the Ursa shot its pincer right through Cypher's shoulder, makes the both of them fall into a river of the cliff. At the bottom of the river, the Ursa remained on top of Cypher trying to drown him. At that moment, Cypher accepted his death and wasn't scared anymore. Because of this, the Ursa couldn't see him and he was able to kill it. Kite falls asleep listening to the story. The following day, he continues his journey. Halfway through the day, Cypher starts to notice hints of the presence of Ursa in the area. Kite reaches a tall waterfall which he will have to cross to reach the destination. Cypher asks him to check his supplies and is disappointed to see that he has only 2 vials of liquid oxygen left. An embarrassed Kite says he can make it to the tail with just 2, but Cypher asks him to abort the mission. Right then, Kite gets a flashback of the day his sister Sengshi died. An Ursa had attacked their home, and like always, Cypher was on a mission somewhere else. To save her brother's life, Sengshi had kept him inside a glass sphere from where the Ursa couldn't smell his fear. That day, Kite witnessed his sister getting killed in front of him, and to this date, he blames himself for it. Back in the present, Kite argues with Cypher claiming that he is not a coward. Cypher tries to calm him, but in the moment of rage, Kite jumps off the cliff. He uses his suit to guide the direction of his fall. Just when he thinks that he can make it to the bottom, a large bird attacks him and breaks his communicator. Now, Cypher has no way to contact Kite. A while later, Kite wakes up in the bird's nest surrounded by its chicks. Before he can get out, all of them are attacked by a group of panthers. The mother bird fights the one on the top of the nest while Kite fights a panther inside it. By the end of the fight, all of the bird's chicks are dead. As it tries to revive them in frustration, Kite runs away from the place. Meanwhile, Cypher tries to look for Kite through his satellite monitors, but instead finds 2 rangers impaled to a tree. The system detects the presence of an Ursa in the area. Unknown to this, Kite takes rest in a cave for the night. Without his father navigating the way, he has to rely on his memory to reach the tail of the ship. He draws a map on the wall and decides to follow it. The next morning, he continues the journey, but is troubled by the same bird following him everywhere. At midday, he has a hard time breathing, so he takes his last vial of oxygen. Then, to reach the tail sooner, he builds a raft from logs and continues his journey. After some time, Kite falls asleep and dreams of his sister telling him he is close to the destination. He wakes up right before the temperature fluctuation starts and goes around looking for a hot spot. However, without Cypher's help, he is unable to find. Then the temperature drops extremely low and everything around him freezes. Soon, Kite drops unconscious on the ground and we see something drag him to a warm, safe corner. Kite wakes up the following morning to see that the bird has saved his life. It had covered him with leaves and twigs, treating him as his chicks. Kite thanks the bird but notices it is already dead. However, with no time to waste, he moves forward and finally finds the tail of the ship. He finds a vial of liquid oxygen and quickly takes it, which rejuvenates him to some extent. Then, he sees that the Ursa is missing from where it is supposed to be. Kite gets the beacon and contacts Cypher using the panel in the tail. Cypher, who is only somewhat conscious, is delighted to see his son alive. However, Kite cannot hear him because of some technical issue. Kite then tries using the beacon, but it doesn't work due to atmospheric interference. Cypher asks him to try from a different location, but since Kite cannot hear him, he only gets more frustrated. But after a while, Kite sees a volcano nearby and decides to try using the beacon from the top of it. However, trouble soon follows when the lost Ursa tracks Kite and senses his fear. Cypher sees this from the monitor and is worried for him. Kite, on the other hand, finds out that the creature is following him and starts to run. The Ursa attacks Kite but manages to save himself after jumping into a water body and going up the mountain. Just then, the temperature starts to lower, which freezes Kite, making him fall to the ground. At the same time, Cypher also falls unconscious because of his injuries. The Ursa approaches Kite as he thinks of his father's words. He remembers that fear is not real and it's all only in his head. Just then, the creature walks right past Kite, unable to detect him. He has removed fear from his mind and is now able to ghost the creature. Using his newfound courage, Kite kills the creature easily. He then uses the beacon to send signals to their rescue team. In the next scene, Kite is on a rescue ship. He walks forwards as everyone watches him in appreciation. Cypher lies on a bed, being treated for his injuries. After seeing his son, he makes the Rangers stand him up and salutes Kite in a true Ranger fashion. The movie ends after the father and the son hug, and the ship takes off for Nova Prime. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on the notification, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thanks for watching.